Hi guys, good morning. Welcome to this Money Control live stream. You're watching Opening Bell with me, Nandita Khemka. It's a Tuesday morning and cues are fairly mixed, and the mood across the global landscape can be summarized as optimistic but cautiously optimistic, because if you look at the overnight cues, Wall Street was fairly mixed. You had Nasdaq clocking in gains, but Dow ended in the negative territory. You had a good rally coming in on shares of Nvidia, because of which Nasdaq managed to end in the green. Asian markets are fairly mixed, but the Nikkei is clocking in good gains of 2% or thereabouts, given the fact that yesterday it was shut on account of a local holiday. The GIFT Nifty hinting at a muted start, but with a positive bias. Of course, lots of stocks in focus today, including the likes of HDFC Bank, on the back of the MSCI announcement. That will be the stock of the day. And of course, lots of other stocks, and your stock related queries will also be in focus. If you have any queries, don't hesitate to send them in to us on our live feed. We'll try and get them addressed by the expert who's joining us shortly on the show. But of course, before we move any further, let's take a look at the top headlines at this hour. Volatile session ahead of CPI inflation data due to be released tomorrow. The Dow Jones closed with minor losses, while the Nasdaq gained amid a rally in shares of Nvidia. Asian markets have opened mixed, with the Nikkei leading the gains. The GIFT Nifty is suggesting a cautious start for the Indian market. Crude prices surge, with the Brent topping the $82 a barrel mark as the US sends additional forces to counter rising tensions in West Asia. Gold rallies on safe haven buying. July inflation cools to its lowest level in nearly 5 years thanks to a sharp drop in vegetable prices. But June IIP grows at 4.2%, the slowest pace of growth in 5 months. And in key earnings to track today, Hero Motocorp is expected to report strong growth led by recovery in led by recovery in rural sales. Apollo Hospitals' margin and revenue likely to improve, while Hindalco's first quarter numbers may take a hit due to flooding at its mines. Well, those were the top stories at this hour. But talking about the cues for trade, yesterday we saw a good recovery from opening lows. The Nifty, in fact, even managed to reclaim that 24,400 mark. But towards the second half, we saw some profit booking kicking in, and we gave up that 24,400 level. But we did manage to end around that level, very flat close. That's what we saw yesterday. The broader end of the markets were outperforming. The mid-cap index saw big moves, from intraday lows. In terms of sectors, you had realty, metals, these were among the top movers. But PSU banks were a big drag yesterday, over 1% kind of a cut coming in on that index. The Nifty Bank Index, however, held on, gained somewhere around 90 points or thereabouts, 50,500. It has managed to sustain those levels. Today, it's the expiry of Nifty Financial Services Index, weekly expiry. Of course, that will be in focus. And HDFC Bank, that has managed to hold out till now. We'll have to see whether, the gains continue there, given the fact that, there could be some bit of setback on the back of the increase in weight on the MSCI index that would happen in 2 tranches instead of the 1 tranche or at one go that the market was anticipating. We'll be talking about that in greater details. But the India VIX index also surged somewhere around 4%, indicating a heightened volatility. And in terms of options cues, if you look at the put call ratio, Nifty put call ratio fell to 1.03 vis-a-vis 1.09 in the previous session. Quite a few stocks in the futures and options ban list this morning. Sun TV is a new addition, and stocks that have been retained in F&O ban are the likes of Aditya Birla Capital, Aditya Birla Fashion, Bandhan Bank, Biocon, Birlasoft, Granules India, Hindustan Copper, India Cements, India Mart, LIC Housing, Manappuram Finance, PNB, RBL Bank and Sales. So that's a huge list of all the stocks that have been retained in the futures and options ban list. One stock has come out of the F&O ban, and that's GNFC. In terms of fund flows, foreign investors have remained net sellers to the tune of 4,680 crores in the cash market. But that buying support from DIIs continue, given the fact that we saw buying to the tune of almost 4,500 crore rupees in the cash market. But let's quickly get on board our guest for today then. Joining me and say hello to our guest Ajit Mishra, who's the Senior VP at Religare Broking. Ajit, great to have you on the show as always. Yesterday, we did reclaim the 24,400 mark. We saw the market shrugging off all those allegations by Hindenburg against the SEBI chief. We did recover from opening lows. We in fact gained lost ground But we gave up that 24,400 level. That is being looked upon as a crucial level for the index to actually head higher to levels of 24,700 or thereabouts. So what is your sense? Cautious optimism is the kind of mood that's around, when it comes to local markets as well as global markets. So in view of that, what is that reasonable level that you will be watching out for today on the index? And in terms of Nifty Bank Index, you've managed to hold on to 50,500. Do you expect the up move to continue here on, or what is the chart really suggesting now?
So yeah, good morning, Nandita. So Nandita, last trading session was a bit of an optimist because we at least made an attempt to surpass the hurdle around 24,400 intraday. In fact, we reached that mark for brief, but we couldn't sustain on the closing basis. So yes, this range basically what we are seeing in the index 24,000, 24,400. Until we decisively break this either side, the tone is likely to remain sideways for the index. As of now, what is positive for the markets that we are seeing VIX cooling off. Another important aspect that the US markets largely triggered this decline, and we have seen marginal rebound, though it's not very decisive yet, in the US markets as well. So both these factors are pointing towards a possibility of recovery in our markets as well, because the VIX have also cooled off, though in the last trading session there was a marginal uptick. We need to see whether it sustained in today's session as well or not. But yes, overall indications are in the favor that Nifty might again make an attempt to cross and sustain about 24,400. And then eventually we'll fill that gap that we have on the daily chart around 24,700. So as of now, it's a buy on dip. Yes, certainly one needs to be cautious when it comes to the index. So 24,200 I feel is a good area to look for fresh buying weight, 24,090 being the stop for this position, with 400, 450 being the first target. Banking in the last trading session was definitely a good surprise, positive surprise, because apart from HDFC, Axis and ICICI, they have also made an attempt of recovery. So today, we need to see whether this recovery extends or not, because we still have multiple resistances when it comes to banking index around 50,900 to 51,200 zone. So until we decisively break that mark and we see some, noticeable buying interest in the private banking majors, for a time being, it's prudent to avoid any fresh long in the banking index and wait for the confirmation.
Okay, avoid fresh longs in the banking index and wait for a confirmation. But two banking stocks I want your views on. First is, of course, HDFC Bank. The MSCI weight increase will happen, but in two tranches. The street was anticipating that it would happen in one go, given the fact that the foreign shareholding or foreign headroom in the counter had risen. But this, of course, has come as a dampener of sorts, because it has fallen short of expectations in that sense. HDFC Bank has been managing to hold on to that 1600 levels. Would you expect sideways moves here as well? Would you advise a buy on dip on HDFC Bank? And secondly, Bandhan Bank has been excluded from the MSCI Global Standard Index. So what are your thoughts on this particular counter?
So HDFC, Nandita, disclosure first that we have recommended this to our clients also for short-term trade and investment as well. So for the short-term trade, 1725, 1750 is what we are eyeing, with 1630 being the stop. So we reiterate that view. See, among the private banking majors, after this underperformance for quite some time, we are seeing that HDFC in this leg of recovery is leading from the front, and we have formed a very strong base around 1600 mark before making this attempt of recovery. So the gap that we have around 1725 is something that might act as a first resistance. So with even closing stop at 1630, one can even attempt a long position in HDFC Bank even at the current levels. Bandhan, on the other hand, is a steady underperformer, means we have had phases of intermediate recovery, rebound, but on every rise we are seeing that the selling pressure also emerges equally sharp. So still the stock is trading below its major averages, long-term averages. The trend is still looks down when it comes to the weekly graph. So there is no sign of recovery. So if you have any existing position in Bandhan, it's prudent that you should exit and switch to the private banking majors, accumulate them on dips. So HDFC could be one of the names which one can look at.
Okay, if any of our viewers are listening and if they have Bandhan Bank, this is what you need to do. But shifting focus from banks to Adani group of stocks, yesterday they were under pressure, understandably so. But they managed to come off the day's low as well. This morning there is some positive news given the fact that MSCI has lifted the embargo on treatment of Adani group stocks on its index. And the Adani group stocks that are on the MSCI index are Adani Enterprises, Adani Ports, Adani Green, Adani Power as well as Ambuja Cement. Any of these stocks are worth a buy on dips? What would you say?
So in the last trading session itself, we saw very sharp recovery from the day's low, and see among all these names, so largely they are trading in a trend consolidation range. So if somebody has to make an attempt of any fresh buying, then Adani Port is something that one can look at once we cross 1550 mark. So as of now, it seems like this consolidation might continue for a day or two. But once we break 1550, then there's a possibility that we might see a newer high in days to come. Other counters are likely to remain in range, is what charts are indicating.
Okay, that's the view on the Adani group of stocks then. But just about, I think, a few seconds to go for the market open. Just about 3 seconds, counting down to the opening bell then. It is looking like a muted start with a negative bias. The index is somewhere around 24,320 or thereabouts at the start. Very flat. Nothing really to take home about. Sensex down by 100 points or thereabouts. The mid cap index, however, is holding out, and quite smartly at that, 0.4% higher for the Nifty mid cap index. The bank Nifty also, it's looking iffy at the current juncture, just about 60 odd points down. So 50,500 sustains on the bank Nifty as well. Let's take a look at some of the other sectors as to what they are doing. Pull up the auto pack. That should be in focus given the fact that Hero Motocorp will be reporting its numbers. Numbers are expected to be strong. Profit in excess of 40% and revenue growth in excess of 20%. That's the expectation that the street is working with. Auto pack just about marginally in the red, and so is the banking a lot, which I already flagged off. But what's doing well is the PSU banking pack. After yesterday's 1% drop, we are seeing a 0.5% kind of up move on the Nifty PSU bank index. Aside of that, the realty pack as well was the top mover yesterday, extending its gains today as well. Aside of that, the IT pack is trading with marginal gains, and so is the FMCG basket. Energy as a pack is doing well, 0.4% higher for the energy pack. Mind you, Brent crude has surged past that $81 per barrel mark, and even the US crude, NYMEX crude, has jumped past that $80. It had tested that level, of course, amid the flaring tension in West Asia. But if you look at the individual movers, then let's see what HDFC Bank is doing. Top Nifty loser, 2% lower on HDFC Bank. You have DB's Lab, LTI Mindtree, Tata Motors, BPCL. OMCs will be in a spot of bother as crude has jumped past that $81 per barrel mark. Tata Motors, Asian Paints, Power Grid, Bajaj Auto. So some of these select auto names are under pressure. HCL Tech is the other one that's trading with losses, and so is Grasim. On the flip side, Apollo Hospitals ahead of numbers. It's emerging as the top gainer on the index. You have private banking names like ICICI Bank, Kotak Bank and Axis Bank, all three among the top 5 gainers on the index. Adani group of stocks, good recovery. Yesterday as well, they were off their day's lows. Today as well, Adani Ports and Adani Enterprises, Adani Twins among the gainers. SBI as well, that counter was also under pressure yesterday. 0.5% up move coming in on an SBI. TCS, NTPC, L&T Britannia, these are some of the other movers. But looking at the open, Ajit, coming to you, particularly for Hero Moto, any level that you'll be watching out for in terms of a resistance level? Numbers are coming out today. Is it a trade ahead of numbers?
Nandita, we are certainly seeing outperformance from Hero Motocorp because during this corrective phase, we have hardly seen any major retracement from the recent highs. The stock has still been holding the short-term averages. So definitely, it's an encouraging sign before the numbers. But yes, since we have multiple resistances around 5,500 mark, the risk reward is just 1:1.5. So with stop at 5,200, one can go long with 5,500 being the immediate target area if somebody wish to play for the result outcome.
Okay, that's about Hero Motocorp. But quite a few queries are trickling in this morning. I want to, before I take up some of the other stocks that are buzzing, just want to ask you your thoughts on an NTPC. Whether it's a good buy at current levels. Rakesh has written in and he wants your thoughts. NTPC is gaining today. It's among the Nifty gainers. Is it a good buy, or would you say that, let the, stock cool off a bit before thinking of jumping in?
Nandita, we are testing short-term averages in NTPC. So yes, there's a possibility that we might see some rebound, but if it breaks 400, 398 to be precise, then the bias could again turn from positive to sideways. So be strict with your stop loss if you are initiating any fresh long in NTPC. And with stop at 398, one can go long with 412 to 415 being the positional target.
Okay, that's the view. Those are the levels to watch out for. Hope you've taken note of them. But before I move on to other queries, Ajit, what do you make of the up move on Inox Wind? Yesterday it was up 20%. Today, once again, it's up 10%. In a matter of 2 sessions, we've seen a 30% surge coming in on this counter. Is it, still a breakout stock entering overbought zone? How are you looking at it?
Nandita, it's still not overbought, but yes, the kind of move that we've seen in the last 2 session, for fresh entry at least one should wait. If you have an existing position, you can stay put with the 208, 209 being your closing stop, because it has moved up very sharply and we don't have any fresh base to look at. But as per the range that we were trading in, earlier, it can potentially inch toward 255 before taking any breather. So yes, you can stay put, but for fresh buying, one should wait.
Okay, that's the call. Stay put, but wait for fresh buying. Vodafone Idea, want to get in your thoughts on this stock. It's in focus given the fact that it has been included on the MSCI Global Standard Index. Plus, numbers came out yesterday. It has managed to narrow down its losses on a quarter-on-quarter basis. Margins have just about marginally, seen a downtick again on a sequential basis. If you look at the average revenue per user, that's come in at 146 rupees. On a quarter-on-quarter basis, it's absolutely flat, but on a YY basis, it has seen a good uptick vis-a-vis 139 rupees in the same quarter last year. Stock is extremely flat right now. 16 is where it's at. Would it or is it primed to make a dash at that 19-20 rupees zone? Should one buy? Should one take a look at this stock as a positional play or completely avoid this counter?
Nandita, we can see some bounce, after this retracement from 19 to 15 area, and we've almost spent nearly 2-3 weeks now in this tight range, 15 to 16. So yes, it can make an attempt to untest 18, 18.5 in the coming days. But yeah, as we all know that it's a gradual move up. So be strict with your stop losses also. So at present, 15 is something that one can maintain as a stop. For 18, 18.5 is something that one can maintain as a target. But among the telecom names, I still feel that Bharti Airtel is something that one can definitely look as a better candidate to trade and invest in. The stock is still holding around its record highs. It's a normal consolidation that we are seeing, and one can continue to accumulate the stock in the range of 14 to 1460, with the 1400 being the closing stop loss and 1520 to 1540 being the positional target.
Okay, that's the view on a Vodafone Idea, but a couple of counters which I was anyway going to speak to you about, but we have a query also coming in on those two counters. Jeet has written in and he wants to know your thoughts on a Voltas as well as Jubilant Food. Both these stocks were high flyers yesterday, post earnings. Jubilant Food, in terms of risk reward, do you think it's looking attractive now? Because, there's a lot of buying interest that's coming back in the QSR space. And Voltas, I think there's a brokerage report also this morning on this particular stock. Stock has done well, at least yesterday we saw good up move. Any thoughts here? Should one buy, or if somebody has positions, how should they approach? Should they accumulate more?
So both counters, Nanda, performed exceptionally well in the last trading session. And one common thing among both these stocks was exceptional rise in volumes, daily volumes. So this indicates that some serious buying has happened in both the counter in the last trading session, despite the overall rise that we were seeing, especially in the Jubilant Food. Stock has managed to surpass the previous swing high, also close to around this level of 650. So we are currently hovering around that band. So it might take a breather for a day or two, but eventually we expect this positive tone to continue, and the stock may inch towards 720, 740 levels. So yes, you can start accumulating in the range of 640 to 650, with 620 being your stop and 740 being your positional target for Jubilant Food. For Voltas also a very strong close around the record highs, with very strong uptick in the volume. So here also we feel that this positive bias is here to stay. So with stop at 1540, one can continue to hold longs, one can buy fresh also, with 1660 to 1680 being the positional target.
Okay, those are the levels to watch out for on those two counters. But just want to take up a query on two stocks, Vipul and MIC Electronics. Sandeep Poddar has written in, and he wants to know what he should be doing with these two stocks. He already has some holdings in these two stocks. He has 200 units of each, which he has been holding for the last 2 months. He wants to know the prospects of these two stocks, Vipul Limited and MIC Electronics.
Right. So MIC Electronics, so it's traded in circuit filter, Nandita, largely, and we've seen a very strong up move, and today also we are seeing an uptick. But I feel that it's prudent to avoid such stocks, because in case the market corrects, usually we see it become difficult to exit such counters. So for a time being now, it's prudent to exit. If you have an existing position, use further recovery to exit your longs around 80-82 levels. For Vipul Limited, again, similar structure means a stock which trades largely in circuit filters. So it moved up, from around 14 to 52, and similarly we are seeing the stock declining to 30 levels now. So my suggestion to all is that if you are investing or trading into such counters, be very strict with your stop losses, because you might end up holding a wrong stock at the wrong price. So at present levels, I would suggest to exit, because the stock has already slipped below the major averages also, and the downside again it might retrace to the previous lows around 24, 25 before making any further attempt of recovery.
Okay, that's the view on your holdings. Hope that answers your query. One query has come in on Tata Power. This one has come from Aman Saxena, and he wants to know your thoughts on this stock. Tata Power, it has been stuck in a downtrend. If you see the last 1 month chart, even the last 6 month chart, I mean, the gains have been just about 15% or thereabouts. It has been stuck in a downtrend. Should one use this to accumulate, the dip to accumulate this particular stock?
So yes, it's largely a range basically that the stock has been hovering in, 400 to 460 for almost 5-6 months now, and we are closer to the lower band. So yes, one can look for opportunity to accumulate, but since we are seeing profit taking in the markets also at their levels, be strict with your stop losses also. So once we accumulate in the range of 400 to 410, then 390 should be your stop for the entire position. And once we break 430, then one can wait for the higher levels towards the record high around 460-65. So it's likely to remain in the range for a time being now. So if you are looking for a day or two, then definitely you should avoid. But if you are looking for a month or more than that, then definitely you can accumulate in the given range.
Right, that's the view. Hope that answers your query. The next query is coming in from Praveen Lal, wants to know your thoughts on Vedanta. A metal pack has been fairly volatile, right? If you look at the charts of Vedanta in particular, in the last 5 sessions we've seen, okayish positive traction. But in the last 1 month, the stock has shed somewhere around 6% or thereabouts. But if you look at the last 6-month performance, has been extremely good. Of course, there's been the restructuring talks going on, and the fact that the company is looking at retiring its debt and restructuring its debt as well. So Vedanta, in comparison with other metal names, how does it stack up now?
So in fact, interestingly, Vedanta is not participating in the corrective phase within the metal space as of now. It's more of like a time-wise correction that we are seeing in the stock. The stock still, maintaining above short-term averages. So it's definitely a sign of outperformance. And in case of the metal stocks are likely to see some recovery, that in that case also is likely to outperform. So in both the cases, it feels like that one can maintain the longs, and in fact one can look for fresh buying opportunity also once we cross 440 mark in Vedanta. So for the existing position, your stop should be at 418, and once we break 440, then 460-65 should be your position target. So yes, within the middle space, Vedanta looks comparatively better.
Okay, that's even Vedanta. I can spot a query on our live feed where Gaurav Joshi has written in, and he wants to know what's up with Firstcry. Firstcry will be listing today at 10 a.m. Of course, the grey market premium is hinting at premium of 18%, at a listing gain of 18%. So watch out for that. It hasn't really listed, so I can't really take up a query like that with Ajit. Of course, there's another listing to watch out for, Unicommerce eSolutions at 10 a.m. So 2 listings today that you should keep your eye open for. But let's take a look at some of the other queries that are trickling in then. Arun Tiwari wants to know your thoughts of an IFCI. Let me just open the chart and see how IFCI is doing. Up by 1% or thereabouts. In the last 1 month, the stock hasn't done much. It has been very sideways. How would you approach this now, IFCI?
Prior to that, Nandita, we have had a very strong surge. So we are seeing normal correction, consolidation in the stock, and that might continue at least for a time being now. So if the view is very short term, then upside seems capped close to around 80-82 is something that it might face resistance with support at 70. So if you have an existing position, you can maintain with the stop at 70 on the closing basis, and 80-82 you should book profits.
Okay, that's the view on IFCI. I hope that answers your query. A couple of more queries then. I wanted to take up a query on NMDC because it reported numbers yesterday. Profit has managed to beat expectations and margins also came in above expectations, but revenue was slightly below. Krishna wants to know your thoughts. He has 500 shares which he purchased at 280 or so. So right now the stock is at 230. He's making a loss here. What would you advise him to do? And I think I also spotted a query on the same stock from Satya CK. He wanted to know whether one should accumulate NMDC for a price target of 300 plus for the next 12 to 15 months. How would you address these two queries on NMDC?
So first, to gentleman who has already positioned at 280, so I always recommend that please don't mix trading with investment. So if you had this stock as a trading, then you should have exited by 260-65. That was the area basically where we had the first level of support. And now after a sharp retracement towards its major averages, we are seeing a attempt of recovery, but we still have multiple resistance to cross with major hurdle at 240. So until we break this mark, I expect the stock to remain in a range 220 to 240, at least for a time being now. And for the person who wish to accumulate, yes, you can look to accumulate the stock because positionally the trend is still up, and we are seeing a phase of correction consolidation stock with lower band around 220 and upper band around 240. So within this range, you can accumulate with closing stop at 200 for the entire position, and then one can wait for a new high in, let's say, 6 to 8 months.
Okay, that's the view on NMDC. Hope your queries have been answered on that note. But one stock that's in focus today is that of Aarti Industries, and I can spot a query on that in on our live feed as well. Praveena Jain has written in, and she wants to know whether one should get out of Aarti Industries in lower circuit today. Of course, 10% downtick. The company had reported its numbers yesterday. How would you approach the chart?
So my recommendation is to see where it close, like in the next circuit, since FNO stock. So once it opens and if it fails to hold 650, then definitely you should exit because that's the long-term average, and below that 625 to 600 is something that it might test. So for a time being now, you have to wait and let the circuit open, and then you can take a call if it fails to hold 650. In case of recovery also, I would recommend you to exit your longs because the way it has declined in the last two trading session, the bias has shifted completely from positive to sideways to negative. So around 680, 85 also is going to be the first area of resistance, and then 700. So use recovery to reduce your position in any case in Aarti Industries.
Okay, that's the view. Praveena, I hope that answers your query. We're getting quite a few queries. It's not possible for us to address all of them today, but I'm trying my best to take up as many as possible. So the last one for today would be on a Zydus Life from Uddesha. At what level should he look at entering this stock, Zydus Life?
So Zydus has done exceptionally well, in this recent surge, and now we are currently hovering around the short-term average. The tone still looks positive, but if it fails to hold then 220, then the profit taking also be sharp. So for fresh buying within this space, I feel Cipla is a better candidate because the stock has also made a new high after a breakout from the consolidation range. So Cipla is something that one can look for fresh buying, with 1540 being the stop and 1660 to 1670 being the target area.
All right, Cipla is a better choice vis-a-vis a Zydus Life. That's the thought. But with that, I'm afraid we've come to the end of the query segment. For our viewers, if you couldn't take up your query, please don't get disheartened. Send them in to us tomorrow. We'll try and get them addressed. But Ajit, before I let you go, in terms of recommendations, what do you have on your radar?
So similar, Nandita, we just shared that looks upbeat to us from the pharma space, and since we are still seeing market witnessing pressure on rise, maintaining few shorts also seems prudent approach. So Titan is one candidate which is witnessing pressure on rise and might drift further lower towards 3150. So one can look for shorting opportunity in Titan at current levels, with the 3415 being the stop.
All right, those are the recommendations coming in from Ajit. With that, Ajit, thanks a lot for taking out time and joining in this morning, and helping our viewers navigate their stock holdings as well. Always a pleasure chatting with you, and I look forward to interacting with you more often.
Certainly, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a great trading day. Well, with that, let's take a look at the texture of the market then. Not much has changed, but the Nifty is holding on to the 24,300 mark. 40 odd points lower on the index, 140 point lower for the Sensex. Sensex, of course. The mid-cap index has, shaved off most of its gains. It's extremely flat at the current juncture, just about managing to hold on to the positive zone. Bank Nifty as well, it has now slumped almost 0.5%, 200 point downtick on the Nifty Bank index. In terms of movers, Apollo Hospitals remains the top Nifty gainer ahead of numbers, and some of these private banking names like ICICI, Axis Bank are doing well. But what's not doing well is HDFC Bank, a 2.5% cut coming in on HDFC Bank. Mind you, it's because of the disappointment in terms of the weight increase on the MSCI index. It will happen in 2 tranches, and the street was anticipating that it would happen at one go. So that's the disappointment, and which is why the stock is reacting. BPCL close second because crude oil prices have surged past that $81 per barrel mark. So OMC is of course feeling the heat there. Aside of that, what's not doing well is the likes of Tata Motors, Asian Paints, some of the life insurance names like HDFC Life, even some of the consumption names like HUL and Bajaj Twins as well. But it's flat. Nothing really to be scared of. Let's see how the day progresses and whether or not we manage to see some green on the screen by the time we end the day. But with that, we are completely timed out on this edition of Opening Bell. To our viewers, thanks a lot for tuning in. But you guys have a great trading day. We have 2 listings at 10 a.m. Firstcry as well as Unicommerce eSolutions. Watch out for those. But have a great trading day and stay tuned to Money Control for all your other news and updates. I'll see you at 3:30 p.m. with Closing Bell.